Welcome to episode 11 of the Thank You Notes podcast. I'm Travis McVeigh, the host. On this podcast, I write a thank you note to somebody and bring them on the show. In exchange, they bring their own thank you note to someone or something they feel deserves a public display of gratitude. Today's guest is Dr. Michelle Dang. Michelle and I got to know each other in Galveston, Texas, doing our anesthesia residency. She went on to do a pain medicine fellowship and has since become a certified integrative medicine specialist. We go into that. She's also a certified yoga instructor, and she teaches Legree as well. She's a woman of many talents, and she talks about all of them. So let's get to my talk with Dr. Michelle Dang. We did it.
We did it.
All right, Michelle. It's been, I think I asked you to do this 4 or 5 months ago. So what gives?
I know, it's just been crazy. My baby just turned 1, so it's just this last year has been a really interesting, fun, scary, exciting year because we also moved to Colorado from Houston. So it's just been crazy. So
yeah, while
sorry
you were
it took me so long.
like 38 weeks pregnant, you made the move?
I was actually 5 months. Or no, 7 months, sorry. 5 months when I got the job offer, 7 months when we officially moved last September. And then we had the baby in December. So he just turned 1 yesterday or 2 days ago.
Yeah, what was the theme of the party?
Don't really have a theme. We're pretty casual. So we just kind of did our own thing.
I like that. We had a theme.
Oh, yeah? What was your theme?
Island. I think we had everybody wore leis. And I think we served some punch.
We don't even know what we're serving for the birthday party yet. We're just kind of winging it. So I don't know. The weather here is very unpredictable. So it could be
true.
Snowing. Who knows? And when it's not snowing, like today, it was beautiful. It was 60 degrees. We went to the park. So we just don't know what the weather's going to be like. It's kind of hard to plan because we don't know if we can be outdoors or not. So.
True. And you live in Denver now, so everybody knows.
Yes, we live in Denver.
Okay.
It's beautiful here.
All right. So, Michelle, this is the Thank You Notes podcast. Are you a thank you note writer?
I am not at all. I hate writing letters, hate writing thank you notes. Although I do like to listen or watch, like when Jimmy Fallon does his thank you notes bit. That's entertaining, but I dread doing thank you notes. Sorry.
Is it because it's a thank you note or because you have to write it?
Because I have to write it. I think if there was a way to just type it and have it be more personable, I would probably do them more. I just hate writing. I've always hated writing.
So it's safe to say that Colin and Stevie will not be will not be required to write thank you notes for their gifts.
Although I might have to force them. They might do thank you texts or thank you phone calls.
Okay. So I was going to ask what your protocol is after you receive a gift. What do you do?
Yeah. Normally I just depends on the person. If it's one of my friends or something, I'll just text them. If it's family who are older, we just have to call them.
That's the school of thought that the non-thank you note writers have been in. And I think a lot of them go out of their way to like show, hey, I love this shirt. I wore it to such and such, or thank you for this toy. I play with it all the time.
Yeah. And I think that's why I prefer texting, because I can say somebody gave Stevie an outfit or a toy. I would take a picture of him wearing it or playing with a toy.
Yeah.
That way, they can see it. And I mean, conversely, I like receiving texts with pictures of gifts that I've given to people too,
What about when you receive a thank you note? What's your thought process there? What goes through your head?
I think it's sweet. And I always think, oh, that's nice. I wish I was a thank you note writer. Kind of same thing for Christmas cards. I hate doing Christmas cards. Whenever I received y'all's Christmas cards, I'm just like, oh, that's really nice. I wish I could just get it together to do something like that.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard, but our Christmas cards were lost in the mail, all of them this year.
I did. I saw that, and I don't know, how did that even happen? How did you guys even discover that all of them were lost?
Well, I don't know that we've necessarily discovered that. My wife dropped them off at the post office and just it's been a week and a half and nobody's received one. So we're just going to chalk it up to, I don't know. I don't know how you lose 60 envelopes. Michelle, we should let my dozens of listeners know, how do you and I know each other?
Dozens, I hope it's more than that. Uh, we knew each other from medical school. And actually, can I share this story?
I knew you were going to tell this story. I
Uh,
dispute the facts of it, but go ahead.
I think that we were in our PBL, which is a problem-based learning class together, second year of medical school in Houston. And I don't think that we ever even really talked to each other. And so I'm kind of introverted. I don't really like public speaking. I definitely don't like talking in class. So I don't think that I ever really talked in class. And I was in class with one of my good friends, Yen. And I think that I don't even know how I discovered that you couldn't tell us apart because Yen and I are both Asian. Fast forward to fourth year of medical school, we're doing our elective rotations, and I was doing the same rotation as you in anesthesia. And I showed up in that conference room. I guess somebody was like, "Oh, is everybody here?" And you were like, "Oh no, Michelle Dang is not here," or whatever. And I said, "That's me. Hello." And so it turns out I think you got me confused with Teresa Dang, who also is an anesthesiologist. And so then I think from that point on, I didn't really like ever really interact with you, but that interaction, I was like, dude, like not all Asians look alike.
I edit this podcast heavily, so
Okay. Um, and so then so we ended up going to residency together and when we found out where we matched and I saw you on the match list of all the students who had matched into anesthesia residency at Galveston, I was like, oh no, I got to spend 4 years with this guy. And one of my friends from medical school and college, Jannard, I remember him telling me, oh yeah, Travis is a really nice guy, maybe a little awkward, but just get to know him. He's really nice. And sure enough, we went through residency together. We became like really good friends. We did our
hmm
sticky rotation together, played Mario Kart together, and yeah,
bowling.
it's just bowling. Oh my gosh, yes,
Yes.
bowling. Was it on a post call day or something? I don't even remember.
We're
Was
at
that?
the outpatient surgery center, and I
Oh,
guess
right,
we
right.
got out at like 11 a.m. or something.
Oh, yes.
And but I think no,
Those
and then we had to go
random.
back for
Did we?
something.
I don't even
So we
remember, but
had
I
like a
do
3 hour
remember
gap. So you just said, well, let's go bowling. I said, okay,
that was super fun.
that was
Yeah.
super fun.
So yeah, that's how
Yeah.
we know each other.
Well, so it's safe to say I was not one of your favorite people in medical school.
In medical school, but I'm very glad that we were able to do Resonates together. It's been a fun ride.
You and me both. You and
Yeah.
me both. One of my favorite parts of residency was doing it with you.
Oh, me too. I
Oh,
have some fond memories. And did you
likewise.
remember because I graduated, I think 2 weeks after you guys did, 2 to 3 weeks because I had a baby during residency. And on your last day, we went to go, God, where did we go? I have pictures of it.
We went to Saltgrass Steakhouse.
No, no, we went to like some bakery. Like you were no, I was post call.
Oh, right. No, that it was, I forget the name of that baker. Is those three women that ran it. It was, I would literally had my car packed up and I was
Yeah.
leaving town.
And I was like, I have to see you before you leave.
hmm
And so I think I was post call or something and I met up with you and I remember I have pictures on my iPad and I have pictures somewhere. That was good times, good times.
That was a good time. So since then, your medical career has been, I don't know, wide ranging. It's gone through a few twists and turns. Do you want to take us through
Yeah.
that? And I'm getting to your current gig with integrative medicine now. Your chart review that you do now. So
Yeah. After residency, I did a fellowship in pain management and that was in San Antonio. Then I moved back to Houston and did outpatient pain management for a couple of years, but just really was not super satisfied. It was just, oh, just burnt out. So I found yoga and fitness and health, and I wanted to do a little bit more with my career. So I did a fellowship in integrative medicine with Dr. Andrew Weil, who's like famous
hmm
in Arizona. And so I completed that and then just kind of did a 180 with my career during the pandemic. That was kind of when it all came full circle, where I was just ready to just leave clinical medicine altogether, but was not quite finding the right, I guess, position. And I found this job in Denver, and it's a physician advisor position. And so what it is utilization management for the hospital, which for people who are not medical, it basically, I help assist the hospital with deciding whether a patient should be in an inpatient or outpatient, or observation status. So it's kind of complicated, but it's non-clinical. I really enjoy it just because I'm learning a lot, but I also still feel like I'm kind of working my clinical brain because I review all the patients who come through the hospital. And these are active patients in the hospital. And so it's very interesting. It's very different than anesthesia and pain management. So I do miss a little bit of that. But I also, on the side, did teach a lot of fitness, which was a lot of fun for me. So I'm hoping to get back into that now that the baby is 1 year old. And anyways, that's kind of what I do now.
And then part of your integrative medicine, like you were going to do what was it, a summit or a
Oh, right. Yeah, so this was right before the pandemic. A couple of girlfriends and I in Houston were going to put together a summit. It was called the Women's Integrative Summit on Health and Wellness, and it was supposed to be in Houston in May of 2020, which was obviously right during the pandemic. So leading up to it, that's when I started podcasting, and I had guests. I interviewed guests on my podcast, just all kind of all types of health and wellness, a lot of medical people, but also non-medical people as well, all women. The whole idea was to put together this summit based in Houston, since that's where we were at the time, just to bring together all women in the area just to talk about health and wellness topics. That's when I started podcasting in 2020, and I did it throughout 2020 and 2021 up until I made the move.
what was the name of your podcast for everybody?
It's called the WishWell podcast. So it's the
Mhm.
Women's Integrative Summit on Health and Wellness, WishWell.
Okay.
And it's still, there's, I think, I don't know, 70 something, 80 episodes,
It's like
and they're still
84.
available. Oh, are they?
Hmm.
Did you listen to every single one?
I've listened to probably a quarter of them.
There's a lot of great topics that we talked about. There's so many women who came on who had such interesting backgrounds. So it was a lot of fun to do.
Now, I can't remember. Did you ever ask me to be a guest on your podcast?
No, because you're not a woman.
But I have lots of things I could share about women's health.
Yeah.
I think that's a
Well,
little exclusionary.
well, what's funny was before we moved to Colorado, I took a break. My whole intention was to take a few months break and then get back into it and discuss more in depth about certain topics. Like I had ideas on discussing things that people don't really like to talk about, or people don't want to talk about a whole lot, like miscarriages or abuse, or those sort of topics that are geared more towards women, but definitely I've had ideas of men coming on the podcast as well. And I had a list of topics that I was thinking about going into, and then I was actually going to change the name of the podcast as well. But as you know, it's a lot of work to do a podcast. Then that was when we found out that we got the job in Colorado, or I got the job in Colorado. And so it was and then I was pregnant. So everything just got pushed, and I kept, as
Yes.
you know, kept delaying getting my podcasting equipment out. I still don't have it back out, and it's still in the back of my mind. So one of these days, I think I'm going to start it up again.
Well, if somebody wanted to check out your podcast, what's an episode that you think kind of stands out?
Oh gosh. Some of my favorite episodes are probably with some of my good friends that I've interviewed, just because it's so fun to interview close friends that I have on the podcast. One of the earlier episodes with one of my friends, Angela Leong, is really good. She talks about, her personal journey. And I think some of the ones that I like too are the shorter ones, and they're my solo episodes. So there's probably about 3 or 4 solo episodes, and one of them I just talk about cooking. It was just kind of random, but that was a fun episode. So
Yeah, I listened to that one. That's a good one. you had to sum up like your integrative health, your podcast, like mission statement, like what message are you trying to get across? What's the message that you're trying to get out?
Oh gosh, that's a tough question, Travis.
Yeah, I'm getting
Um,
good at this.
I think what I've learned in my own personal journey is that there's just not one box for everybody when it comes to your own health and wellness. And I'm very much into fitness and health, and what works for me may not work for other people. So that was what I wanted to bring across through my podcast is interviewing women from all sorts of different walks of life. And my question to them was, what does health and wellness mean to you? And the interesting thing is it meant something slightly different for everybody. So that was what I wanted to bring across to people, to women.
The thing that I liked about it is having gone through medical school and we learn all these diseases and we learn all these procedures and et cetera, et cetera. When you and I get to people, they've kind of been neglecting a lot of the things that you talk about in your podcast, like the
Yeah.
spiritual health and the mental health and the physical fitness. A lot of these people haven't been doing that. And by the time we get to them as anesthesiologists or even a primary care physician or a, cardiologist, you've already lost decades that you could have been addressing a lot of these things.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of in the business of fixing sick people rather than keeping well people well. And that's what I liked about your podcast. It's more about keeping well people well than fixing sick people.
Yeah, but I mean, even so, it's really hard to remember that because personally, I felt like I was pretty healthy and fit. And then I had a baby, and it was like the first probably 6 to 8 months of his life. I was just like, everything was out the window,
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's important for everybody, wherever you are in your journey.
Well put.
Yeah,
Let's do our thank you notes.
sure.
All right. The
You
blurred
actually
background.
wrote a thank you note. I put it in
I
my phone. See how good I am?
I do. No, I write one for everybody.
You're
All my
so good.
guests.
Will I get the actual thank you card?
I
Will
should
you
mail
will you
these. I
mail it to
haven't.
me? You should mail it.
I should mail it. Both sides.
Oh, wow. That's a
Yeah.
long one. I thought that you did short ones.
What
My
did you
my
think?
thank you
What did
note's
you
really
think you were
short.
getting into, Dang?
I'm not sure. I listened to a couple of podcasts and I remember it being like relatively short thank you notes.
I read quickly. That's probably why.
Okay, maybe that's why.
Dear Mish, what a ride, huh? We started as strangers, and I think you've said on more than one occasion that you initially didn't like me. Now we have been good friends for 15 years. It's an
Oh my
astonishing
gosh.
number. From our commiserating the woes of residency, board exams, and being single in our mid-30s to the super fun times we've had bowling, working together, and hitting a happy hour, I'm eternally grateful to have you as a friend. I also wanted to thank you for the inspiration you've given me in your dedication to wellness and sharing it all on your podcast. I don't think I ever told you how proud I was when you became a yoga teacher, as well as all the other accolades to follow. You're a super doc, super mom, and a super friend. Thanks, Travis.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, I'm
That's
glad
so
you love
funny
it.
because we like hit on all the stuff that was in your thank you note.
That's no accident.
And
This is,
you'll be interested to see what my thank you note is. But anyways.
I'm on pins and needles. Like, I have no idea where this is going.
Is it my turn now?
It can be. Do you have any other reactions, thoughts,
No, I think
reflections?
it's very touching. I'm very touched and
Good, you
I'm
should
very
be.
grateful. I'm very grateful to have you in my life. And I know that we are in completely different cities,
Yes, we are.
which we have for a while. I think the
Mm-hmm.
last time you were in Houston was residency.
I mean,
Was
I've
that the last?
been back
I
a
mean, you've
few
been back.
times.
Oh gosh, I remember nights where we went out to eat. Do you remember we went with Dudley to Underbelly? Was it Underbelly?
Yes.
I still have pictures from that night. And then we went to the other one, BRC.
Yeah, BRC, the Big Red
Yes.
Chicken.
Yes. Yeah, so those were good times. And then I've
Mm-hmm.
been up to Dallas a couple times for review courses and things like that. So I mean, I know I'm in a different state now than Texas, but hopefully you guys can come up to visit.
Yeah, I mean, I love to ski, and we always fly in and out of Denver. So my
Yes.
daughter's seen snow once, but it's not like it's not fun when it's in Dallas. It's fun when it's in Colorado.
The snow is amazing here when it sticks. It's just so beautiful. And it's great because when it snows here, I don't know, I've never lived in Dallas. I don't know what the snow is like in Dallas, but here when it snows and it's sunny, it's great. Like Colin, my older son, will go out in t-shirt and shorts
Hmm.
and play in the snow. And it's really bizarre, but he loves it.
All right, dang. What's your note?
Okay.
Who's it to?
Okay. So my note is actually not to a person, which I thought,
This is a podcast first.
is
It
it?
is.
So this is a thank you note to yoga, which I thought was so funny because you did mention me being a yoga teacher.
Yes.
So I was actually, when I was listening to one of your podcasts, I was thinking, okay, so I know that you want me on the podcast and I know I need to write a thank you note. What should it be to? Or who should it be to? And I couldn't really think of a person. I mean, I can think of lots of people, but really, the more I thought about it, the more I was like thinking, I want to thank something related to my health and wellness journey. And so I couldn't think of anything else but yoga because that's kind of what started my whole journey into integrative medicine, and becoming yoga certified was amazing. And then after that, Legree certified. And so it just started everything. Anyway, so here's my thank you note. It's very short. Thank you, yoga, for giving me an outlet during a time I really needed the physical and spiritual healing and community, and for jumpstarting my love of fitness. That's it.
Thank you, memo.
I told you I'm not a big letter writer. I felt like that kind of and captured just my thoughts on yoga and how it started
Well,
everything.
namaste.
Yes. Namaste.
I don't know much about Legree, but are you still instructing yoga?
I am not, but I am taking yoga. I did a lot of yoga when I was pregnant just because that was all I could do. I have a Peloton, but after a while, it just was really hard for me to figure out the handlebars with a pregnant belly. And I was doing Peloton a lot. And then I needed to have some movement when I was pregnant. So I really came back around to yoga, which was lovely. I loved it. It was great. And then after the baby was born, it took me a couple months to kind of get back into the groove of things, but I started again doing yoga. And so now I do yoga, maybe I try to do it once a week, midweek, as kind of like my break from intense fitness. But I do a lot of spinning now, and I still do Legree Fitness, which is basically high intense workout on a machine called a Megaformer. But yeah.
Did you incorporate yoga into your pain medicine practice?
Um, well, at the time, I did teach some yoga classes to my staff, which was kind of fun. This was when I was working at in the medical center at Methodist in Houston. And there were a couple of patients who were really interested in yoga. And so I would teach them different moves they could do to help with their pain. In my last practice, when I was in private practice in Tomball in Houston, there were a couple of patients who actually sought me out, which was kind of cool because I did a chronic pain workshop at a yoga studio. And so that was pretty cool for them to find me that way. It wasn't a big percentage of people who were interested in it, but the ones that who were really brought me a lot of joy. So
Yeah, I kind of think that's the ideal for, medicine as a whole. And I think that's kind of where I think medicine should go, is that we should incorporate a lot more of that. And I think people would stand to benefit a lot more from that than, just the medication and just, take a few of these and come see me in a month.
oh, definitely. Definitely.
Okay, Michelle, last question. What's your favorite kind of margarita?
Oh,
A
a
squirrel
squirrel
margarita.
margarita.
Yes.
That's an
That isn't
inside
it.
joke.
We can
But
explain it.
yeah, that was when I was in Dallas for a board review course. Oh my gosh, I was there for what is that guy's name?
Niels Jensen.
Yes. I haven't done anesthesia in forever. I can't remember his name. So I was there for Niels Jensen course, and we had gone, it was Cinco de Mayo, and we had gone to eat. I don't even remember what the restaurant was. Do you?
It's called La Ventana.
Oh gosh. Oh my gosh. Yes. And so then I wanted a margarita, and
Well, it was really loud, and I asked the lady, what kinds of margaritas do you have? And she said, we have house, we have rocks, and then we have squirrel. Is it squirrel? Yes, squirrel. And you kept like, no, Travis, she's saying swirl. Oh, okay. So we had to get it then.
So we had to get a squirrel margarita. That was fun times.
All right, Michelle Dang, I'm glad we did this.
I am so glad too. This was fun.
When you get your podcast up and running again, I expect to be courted heavily.
Well, I thought so this is funny because I was, like I said earlier, trying to figure out how to rebrand and rename my podcast, and I wasn't sure which direction I want to go. So I thought, well, maybe what I want to do is to kind of do a podcast about being Asian American. So that would be a perfect podcast for you to come.
Perfect for me.
So yes. Anyways, I don't know what direction I'm going to go. So, but I will definitely think of you.
The I Can't Have Travis on This Podcast 2.0.
Hopefully not.
All right, I got to run. Got to push the munchkin to bed. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
Let's talk soon.
Yes, we'll do.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you to the lovely, talented Dr. Michelle Dang for coming on the show. It was a treat to talk to her. It's always a treat to talk to her. I will link to her podcast, the WishWell podcast, in the show notes. Also, there will be links to my Facebook page, links to my Instagram, and the voicemail number. So interact with the show in any of those ways you'd like to. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.